We are 3 weeks into the Trump presidency, and we are seeing the same strategy he has used since day one. He is still flooding the zone with as many moves as possible to overwhelm his opposition, including Democrats and the media. He did this during his first term, but what's different now is the speed at which he is doing it. Since Inauguration Day, he has signed 54 executive orders. They target everyone in this country, transgender Americans and immigrants. They threaten constitutional changes, dismantling anti-racism initiatives. They pause foreign aid, you name it, he's doing it. And many of them have paved the way for the blatant power grabs happening right now, which brings me to the biggest difference. Elon Musk, someone who is not appointed by the president, nor confirmed by the Senate to head any of the arms of our government. He is now running this brand new made-up department called DOGE. But it's not just Musk clawing his way through all the way to do Trump's dirty work. No, it's the team that Musk has hired himself, the same people Trump can't stop praising. Listen to what he said when a journalist asked him about what many view as Musk's unlawful power grab and whether there's anything Musk cannot touch.
Well, we haven't discussed that much. I'll tell him to go here, go there. He does it. He's got a very capable group of people. Very capable. They know what they're doing.
Now, let's take a moment to talk about Musk's oh-so-capable team. There's the DOGE staffer who didn't even bother deleting his racist social media posts before taking on the job. And then you have the 19-year-old who was fired from a previous internship for leaking company secrets. And many of his employees came from SpaceX or X or have job descriptions so vague they're irrelevant. So it's not just Musk who now has access to highly sensitive government information. These people do as well. People the American people know nothing about. And honestly, it doesn't seem like the president knows much about them either, nor cares. Even with Musk in this role, Trump's intent hasn't changed. He and MAGA are flooding the zone to make it appear like he's fulfilling campaign promises, regardless if his actions stick. Take birthright citizenship, for example. Trump claimed he'd undo it on day one, but his executive order is now struck down in multiple courts. And same goes for his attempt to dismantle American institutions. Again, take USAID, for example. U.S. employees, yes, they are recipients of foreign aid. They're still at risk, no doubt. But courts have intervened. Our guardrails, for now, seem to be working. Now, Musk is threatening to take over the Department of Education. And that was a direct order from Trump. But he also added another department to Elon's list, one that could create a rift in between Musk and MAGA.
I've instructed him to go check out education, to check out the Pentagon, which is the military. And, sadly, you'll find some things that are pretty bad. But I don't think proportionally you're going to see anything like we just saw.
Now, so far, Musk has gone after the easiest targets, the smallest agencies, the low-hanging fruit of the federal budget, USAID and perhaps the Department of Education, the Department of Labor, and so on. Agencies that, if you actually add them all up, barely make 1% of total federal spending. Now, if DOGE was really about trimming costs, the Pentagon would have been first on its list. The Department of Defense takes up one of the largest chunks of our federal budget, between 13 to 20%. Billions of taxpayer dollars flow through it. It has never fully passed an audit. And it's not just new weapons and military gear we're talking about here. The DoD has spent millions on crab and lobster, $9,000 on a chair, thousands on fancy toilet seat covers. And that was all during Trump's first term in office. And of course, the DoD is notorious for wasting maybe trillions in overseas wars. Yet Musk isn't saying that this department doesn't exist like he did on X with the Department of Education. In fact, since Trump's comments last night, he actually hasn't said anything about the Pentagon. And I wonder why. Musk's silence suggests he's not thrilled about where this may be heading for him. Maybe it's because the DoD has billions of dollars in contracts with Musk's own companies. Going after it could be a direct hit to his bottom line or a clear conflict of interest. And not to mention, oversight of the Pentagon is far from easy. There are always political obstacles, despite example after example of reckless spending since the department's creation. You see, for Musk, it's easier to tear down an agency that most Americans don't hear about every day. And let's not forget that Musk is not getting paid to run DOGE. As I see it, his real payoff here is keeping his business flush with government money and with a few guardrails as possible. You see, targeting the DoD would be bad for his business. And the bigger point I'm making here is that Musk is using his unchecked powers to attack agencies that Americans and people around the world need. And in my estimation, he's doing so to feed an illusion that he and Trump are unstoppable. Dismantling USAID doesn't just cut foreign aid, it actually hurts American farmers who rely on the agency to buy their produce. Dismantling the Department of Education strips access to critical resources to kids in this country, kids with disabilities, and to funding to rural districts who need help, the very districts that handed Trump the presidency and who he claims he cares about.